I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is
We watch monster movies.
Like the roar.
So, at least according to Cloud, this is We Watch Monster Movies. I'm still not real sold on that. I mean, I know the whole Goldar thing and everything, but it just doesn't seem like the rest of the things in the category.
No, I'm going to agree with you on that. I am stretching this pretty thin, but because it's Power Rangers and the Power Rangers formula is insert some type of drama, conflict, and then robot fight against monster at the end, you at least get like 3 minutes worth. So
yeah, but the problem I feel is that if that's the criteria, then all of the Marvel movies have to be monster movies, and various other different things have to be that I wouldn't think, put into the category.
Well, I don't think they ever say make my monster grow in any of the Marvel Universe films. If they did, I'd call them out on their bullshit.
No. DC, maybe.
Maybe.
But still, none of those are monster movies. Although, at least according to Wikipedia, this is a superhero film.
Oh, hell, they say it like 15 times.
I know, but that doesn't mean it is. I guess they are, but it's just weird to think of it that way because that's not the way I'm used to thinking of them.
Well, are they like Spider-Man or are they like Iron Man?
Well, I don't know. But we're not there yet anyway. Because before we get to all that, did you watch anything? I expect that the answer is probably no.
I don't think I saw anything. I'm trying to remember because I went and saw Power Rangers twice, so I'm trying to remember if I saw anything before that.
Probably not. Because there have been things happening.
There have been things happening.
Which I guess we should make a note of, since I've made a note periodically of other such things. This is the first time that we've ever recorded an episode in the same room.
Yay.
So, we are in the same room.
Close proximity.
Yeah.
And while
we used to have me and Kenny and Kate all in the same room, but we've never been, now they aren't, but we've never had Cloud in the same room as anybody else during an episode. So
yeah, so I'm here with at least one other person.
Yep, you're in the room. Well, I did finally get around to watching Guardians of the Galaxy, and I feel like I was totally missold the movie that actually existed, and it kind of kept me from watching it as long as I did. Because the way that all the trailers made it seem like it was just nonstop silly. And it's not nonstop silly. There's some silly, but not really much more than in just a standard other Marvel movie. And so I don't know if maybe other people were disappointed the other way, where they went in expecting nonstop silly and just got a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Well, I think this is one of the few that they have a character who is generally that kind of charismatic. So he is kind of funny and silly on his own. And the whole movie isn't completely based around those kinds of shenanigans. Like, important stuff's happening. And he just happens to be the kind of guy who would use that humor. So a lot of the stuff that we see is either taken out of context or is implied to be funny based off of editing. But in all actuality, it's really not.
No, I don't think he's any more just sort of comedic or silly than Tony Stark is.
Yeah. Well, I think the only humor from Tony Stark is his own what's that word? Narcissism? Yeah. I think it's his own narcissism that brings out the humor in his character, and that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't go around naming yourself Star-Lord and not have a little narcissism.
But I'm Star-Lord.
Yeah,
How do you
according
not
to
know
you.
who I am?
because you've never said it to anyone else before. Although apparently it's in the files somehow, but
Yeah. And then check your files.
whatever. Yeah, the files. Even the files were missold to us in the trailer because it seemed like it went on for much longer than it actually does, and there was more silliness. I kind of object to, even in the middle of all of the silliness, that there's things like he's giving them the finger during they're checking the files scene, and there's what at least seemed to me to be a fair bit more language than you typically have in a Marvel movie, even with it being rated basically the same, because they're not going to make a Marvel movie above PG-13.
Of course not.
At least, of course, we said that about DC too, and then now look. Or no, it is still Marvel.
No, because it's Fox.
Yeah, it's Fox.
Fox is putting them out, not Marvel.
Disney
themselves.
Marvel Studios is not going to make an
R-rated
R-rated movie.
Disney isn't going to give their name an R rating.
Uh,
They might lose $12.
Yeah. Just in protest from some angry, concerned parents or something. There is a scene that doesn't exist at all, which they even use on the menu of the DVD, which is the Groot looks confusingly at the tape playing in the stereo. That doesn't happen in the movie,
No.
but it's in the trailer and it's on the menu, but it doesn't ever happen. And there's not even a time when it could happen that I know of. But I'll also say I think that just removing the Bradley Cooper part from it, which he did fine, but he's sort of the lesser part of the achievement that I think Rocket Raccoon is as a thing, because there's some like animation, which is what he is. He's really, really detailed, realistic looking animation, but that's what he is.
Like, he's not a real talking raccoon.
No, but I mean, but he's not a puppet, or he's not like he's just not there.
Yeah.
So, but there's so much subtle acting in him when there's no voice. So it has nothing to do with Bradley Cooper. It's just the animators acting through the animation, and just, eye movements, and he'll move his nose, or he'll just really, really subtle stuff. And it's some of the best acting in the movie, and it's not even a real person.
Right.
I was really, really impressed by it. It's a lot more essential a movie than it seems to, at least maybe have seemed to be without seeing it, because there's a whole lot of Thanos happening in it that's going to, and Infinity Stone stuff, and it's stuff that's going to be important later.
Yeah.
So it isn't just happy fun time.
Oh, no.
This like serious Marvel business happening here.
I know. I want to say I really enjoyed the movie, and the only criticism I had was a select bit of dialogue right there at the end. When you had Ronan, and he's like, "What are you, Guardians of the Galaxy?" And I was just like, "No, that name is so corny and cheesy. You had a serious character say it, and it threw me out of it. Threw it out." And it was one of those things where you'd have the Star-Lord character. He's like, "Oh, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, duh," because he is that kind of corny character who would have said it, and you could have gave that line to him. He would have spit it out, and it would have felt completely natural to the rest of the film. But when you had the blue warlord guy with the Infinity Stone and his hammer start talking shit, he says something corny, and it's just like, ugh, I can't handle it.
Yeah. Oh, also, it's another John C. Reilly basically serious character. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not another. I guess Kong is another, but it's weird. I mean, maybe that's what he wants to do. I mean, he's sillier in that, and he has jokes kind of to say that he doesn't really have in Kong, but still, he's not smoking weed or anything. Space weed. Yeah.
420 light years. Cruise it, faggot.
But and also, since this is a theatrical movie, one that we saw theatrical, there might be some trailer talk to talk about. Further information in the new Cars 3 trailer makes it seem even more like Lightning McQueen is Rocky in pick one of the last 3 Rocky movies. There's elements of sort of each. And maybe that's okay, because at least that's something good to adapt. Although I guess maybe you could argue that maybe 5 is not that great, and it's not, but don't talk smack about Rocky 4. Super great. Help bring down the wall.
Was there another trailer?
There was the Nut Job.
Oh, fuck that.
The Nut Job 2, which I just kept thinking the whole time they're really trying to recapture Madagascar here. Like, and with several other movies probably too, but
well, it's because the summer and you got kids out of school.
Summer.
And, it's like, hey, kids, go see Nut Job 2 because your parents are tired of dealing with you.
Yeah. Well, the thing, even just to criticize a movie I haven't seen, but mostly just to criticize the way that the trailer is built. That moment with the dogs sort of seeing each other and being like, oh, it's love the first time doesn't work at all in the moment that it's in the trailer, because we've already seen the dogs interact with each other earlier.
Exactly.
So it's like, I know the people that cut trailers are entirely different people, and nobody who made the movie has any impact on it. But
still, there was people who cut it together to make a trailer, and they fucked up.
Yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
Power Rangers!
This week's movie is Power Rangers, directed by Dean Israelite, starring Baker Montgomery, Naomi Scott, R.J. Seiler, Becky G, Ludi Lin, Bill Hader, Bryan Cranston, and Elizabeth Banks. How about a plot synopsis?
5 teenagers with attitude stumble across. Yes, because they finally are teenagers with attitude. Thank you very much. They stumble across the remnants of these firepower coins that were left 65 million years ago during a conflict between Zordon as the Red Ranger and Rita Repulsa. After realizing that these coins did something to them, they try to find answers. They run across the ship that Zordon is now inside of, as well as Alpha 5, the robot that's been taking care of everything. They have to band together and actually become the Power Rangers to defeat Rita Repulsa before she gets the Zeo crystal, destroys Earth, and tries to take over the universe.
Uh-huh. Well, what you really mean is, in the grim darkness of the far past, there's only war.
No, because I would expect a space marine to step on Zordon's head going, filthy Xeno heretic.
That's not how it works.
Damn it, this is Warhammer 40k, and yes, that is how it works.
Well.
Glory to the God Emperor.
Right. So yeah. It's, I mean, you were kind of right. I don't know if it was you or you quoting speculation or whatever, that they were going to do the Rita used to be a Power Ranger thing as like a major element, and they did. So,
well, I had that idea simply because I knew that in one way or another they were going to try and incorporate the Green Ranger in some aspect to develop the show into a trilogy, because of course that's where the money's at. But at the same time, how they were going to do it, since in the original show Rita did create the Green Ranger, I was thinking that maybe they were just going to have her be that, but I didn't think too much into it. And then one day at work, someone came up to me and was like, hey, didn't you hear they're going to actually make Rita the Green Ranger? And I was like, well, holy shit.
Yeah, well.
If that's what it is, that's what it is.
The old Green Ranger, though.
Yeah.
In the same way that he was the old Red Ranger. Because there is no current Green Ranger. Although they hint.
Well.
The other thing is, if you listen to the pre-show that we posted last week, apparently I'm now black and autistic.
I don't know. Is he autistic?
Well, he might not be full on. He said they never say specifically, but he's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which could be autism. It could be Asperger's. It could be. It could even be Tourette's, but I don't think it is based on his behavior. So there are many things on the spectrum.
Well, I don't know.
Including the Blue Ranger.
Including the Blue Ranger. I was actually pretty appreciative of his character.
Oh no, I don't mind it at all.
No,
but it's just like
it's not that. It's how they introduced him and how they let him flow as a character. I didn't feel like they tried to push some kind of those who have a mental disability kind of agenda. Like he still existed fully functional. It was just him. It affected his personality.
They do tone him way down though later. Although I'm not sure if maybe it's because like how Peter Parker doesn't wear glasses now. Maybe he's a little. I don't even know. I'm not even going to say it that way because I don't want to. I don't know. I don't know the proper terms, but did it fix some of his? I don't even want to say fix because it makes it sound like it's a problem. Did it move his place on the spectrum?
I don't know. Maybe
because when they're going down into the mine the first time, like he's almost a caricature of someone with some kind of something or other going on because he's like he does everything literally, or he makes such a point out of how he this is how he is and he can't understand this and he can't understand that, and he talks nonstop and he's always quoting facts and all kinds of things, and that gets way lighter as it goes on.
Well, I think something on that is they were trying to establish a character, because the first time around I wasn't 100% sure, because whenever they're in the Zords and he seems to be having a good time, we do know that when he was with his dad and him and his dad would go out into the mine looking for stuff, that we know that he obviously could feel the positive emotions that he did with his dad. And I think this, like as he said, like, now that I have you, this is something that kind of replaced that. He still kind of has that little bit of mentality of, he doesn't like using the foul language either from personal experience or maybe his mother, maybe his father or whatever. But at the same time, since he's gotten to know these 4 other people, even though he might not understand something more recent, we do get that callback with the, slapping Rita.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though he probably wouldn't have realized that as a joke, he remembers things, and he remembers that from the bully.
Well, he says at the mine that he remembers everything, so we would expect him to remember. Although that seems to, like, that's a different thing to me.
Maybe.
But, because they're kind of, like, he's not Rain Man or anything.
No.
The other thing...
Billy Cranston crams tons of crayons and is counting cards.
Yeah. Yeah, even that, like, you can't literally cram a ton. Yes, but he stops doing that kind of thing. The other thing that was the controversy that we deliberately didn't address, except that we addressed that we weren't going to address it.
The Yellow Ranger being a lesbian.
Yeah, which they never say the word.
No.
But I thought it was much more of a moment than Sulu was.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I don't know. Tell me the moment that brought that to mind.
What? When?
The one you talked about, it like Sulu had that one moment. Which one was this one's?
What do you mean this one?
Because I have a problem trying to distinguish what they're trying to go for.
Oh, well, the only time it's addressed at all is when they're sitting around the fire telling their secrets, and see, they edge around it, and the closest they get to coming right out and saying it is he says boyfriend problems, and she hesitates, and he thinks a second and says girlfriend problems.
No,
that's where it's clear.
He says boyfriend problems. She goes, yeah, boyfriend problems, and then he gives her a look and then says girlfriend problems, and then she ignores him. Now I think that they're trying to allude to it, but at the same time they used a character who's trying to be silly and funny. If they would have used a more serious character, like even if they would have done with Billy, because Billy wouldn't have understood the joke to begin with, then that would have been something a little more serious. But we already know that Zach has a little bit of crazy to him, and he likes to play. So chances are he was just trying to play with her.
Well, that's not how it reads at all, though.
Probably not.
And then she goes into her whole upsetness of the family doesn't, like, they want you to be a certain way. And all.
Labels and talking and all so that,
It's pretty clear that's what's going on, even if you didn't know going in that it's there somewhere. But either way, it's still much more of a let's make a moment of this than Sulu walks up and like hugs a guy with his kids, and it's like, oh, Sulu's husband, but they never say anything about it, and it's like 5 seconds of screen time. This is a whole like part of a scene.
Yeah, but I think this is, I guess, too much hearsay. Like they try to allude to something, but there's nothing physical there. Like it's not like you see her, stay in the night with Kimberly. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like no, like the closest you get is them in the diner, playing with forks and a piece of food at the end of the fork.
A donut.
A donut. It's still food, but it's from the Krispy Kreme.
It is.
It's an important place.
Which we'll have to talk about. Well, the thing. All right, let's go ahead and talk about it.
Fucking Krispy Kreme donut. The place. It's so important. It underneath it is buried the secret and power of life.
Yeah, the source of all life.
The source of all life.
Yeah. So here you go, Krispy Kreme. Here's your $100 million commercial.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to ask you, there is currently an empty bag that used to contain Krispy Kreme crullers on the floorboard of your car. Was that bought before or after you saw Power Rangers the first
I
time?
actually didn't buy that.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Because I was like, worked. You went right out and bought some donuts.
Okay, now, see what ended up happening is whenever we went over to Matthew's place to get the microwave, his mom came out and she had that bag in her hand and I didn't know what it was. And she's like, here, have you had breakfast yet? You can have these. I'm not going to eat them anymore. And I didn't even bother looking at them. I just took the bag and I kind of thought they were a bag of like the powder donuts, but it wasn't until we already started driving off I looked at it and it was fucking crawlers. Now the thing is the crawlers, there is like the kind that you get in that bag reminds me more of the old fashioned donuts that like I got at this one, what was it, Donut Palace or whatever, that was run by these Vietnamese dudes who I'm pretty sure were smuggling cocaine, but they made some of the best motherfucking donuts I've ever had, and they look like crowns, and they were called old fashions, and that's what those donuts in that bag tasted like. So I'm pretty sure Krispy Kreme coats their donuts in cocaine.
I think maybe some other people would agree without even the Vietnamese dude experience.
Yeah. Like that dude, man.
Yeah, I mean, we even get a moment of Rita eating a donut.
You know,
like in the middle of the battle scene.
You know, I almost had a problem with that, but at the same time, I have a habit of wanting to break these movies down. So, you know, when you think about it, somehow she's been at the bottom of the ocean for all this time. I'm sure she's hungry. And then the only other time we see her eat anything, because we do see her eat, and it just looks like these fish, like these fish parts that she just kind of like rips off. Because whenever she was counting the gold that she had gotten from those other murders, and then like the homeless guy shows up right before she attacks him, you just see her like rip fish parts off and then like eat it. So at least we know she does eat.
Yeah.
So, you know, shows up at the Krispy Kreme. I'm sure she can smell the sweetness in the air and decides, oh, what is this? Probably breaks some of the glass, grabs a donut and tries it. And it's like, hey, donuts are fucking delicious. Donuts, sponsoring evil everywhere.
Trusted everywhere. Yeah.
You gotta eat.
Yes, you do. To go back to the second part of the beginning, though, I guess it's really the beginning, because in the grim darkness of the far past, there's sort of a prologue. That whole business with the like putting the cow in the locker room, and then that long like Children of Men kind of shot with him driving the truck away, it's something.
Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about that something.
I don't know either, because I want to say it's amazing, but it's kind of not also, and it's kind of like I'm kind of getting dizzy here.
Well, I didn't have the dizzy problem. I had okay, so when he backs up and he hits the police car, all of this from this point, it obviously looks pretty real. Backs up into probably a fake police car, drives off. You have a camera maybe on some form of rig rotating around. Maybe there's a guy there. I don't know.
Well, the rig does exist. They could have borrowed the one that they made for Children of Men. So, because it looks almost exactly the same kind of movement.
And then like they rotate it back around, and then he's checking stuff, and he's got his lights off. So he turns down a road and turns his lights back on. And then he's got to dodge a car, and then he hits another car. And I noticed that it feels like the way that they show us, they transition between a real car and real driving into like a complete CG kind of effect where they just stick him in another car and then put him upside down.
Yeah, it might be on some kind of rig where they're moving it, or I don't know. It's hard to tell where the actual transitions are, which is good because you wouldn't want to be able to see it because
I couldn't tell, but I could feel it.
Yeah,
because I could feel that like that dimension between, hey, this really does look and feel real, and then he hits, and then whenever it tries to rotate back onto him, looking at him going through this wreck, that's when it feels a bit off.
Well, and just because it can't possibly be real at that point, it's sort of like, even if it was, I mean, it can't be, but no matter how good it looks, you're still gonna think this can't be really happening. There's something going on here. When he backs up into the police car, I just thought he's going to jail.
But I'm thinking about it, and honestly, if he would have backed up into it and just stopped,
but he didn't.
They probably would have gotten him way lighter, because he's still a kid. Like the worst it was just trying to put the cow in the locker room, and then backing into the police car, because the police car shot in behind him while he was already moving, because he had already put it in reverse and he was reversing, but we don't see it until the camera shifts, and then we get to watch the police car come into frame, and then he hits the police car.
Yeah, but still.
So the thing is, if he would have just stopped from there, like pulled forward a little bit so the officer could obviously get out, chances are they would have let him go with that. Like probably received a fine for repairs or some shit like that, and then
that's already fleeing in commission of another crime. So, yeah. But
I'm just saying,
I don't know how he's not dead. I mean, they survive the wreck with the train later, but that's after they have the coins. But at the beginning, it's like that looks real serious. I mean, we're on his face the whole time because they stop the crazy rotation and just, I guess they want you to be like, no, look, really, there's no cut here and there's nowhere to hide it. So you're looking at him, and you see that he doesn't get hurt. But
I think it's just because it's too slow.
Maybe, but
like it's fast enough that you hit a car that low at an angle, you're gonna flip, but at the same time, it's not like he's driving down the interstate doing like 70 or something.
Oh, the other thing about his car, though, is his dad later, when he goes back home and it's sitting there in the garage and it's all wrecked, he didn't sell it for scrap because they wouldn't give him enough money, and he's like, maybe you can fix it up if you want. He says the frame is still straight and the motor still runs. No way is the frame still straight after a wreck like that. There's no way. I know it's a pickup truck, but still.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
I can't suspend my belief for that one.
No. I'm trying to think. Let's see. So almost all of them end up in detention.
Yeah.
I guess everybody except.
Well, if anything, Zach and Trini, because Trini's hardly ever there.
Yeah.
And then Zach skips school, so if anything, he's more than likely just going to skip detention to begin with.
Yeah. He probably should be in detention as much school as he skipped.
Yeah. Now,
if he showed up for it.
For Billy, I'm surprised he hasn't been arrested for explosives.
Yeah. Well, they make a joke about it at the end, where it's just like, if something explodes around you, because just the detention guy very calmly, just the locker explodes and he just says, Cranston. And it's like, it doesn't even get more reaction than that. It's just something blew up. Must be Billy.
Yeah. Which I guess that's kind of a good thing, though, because you don't have to worry about them calling the FBI for explosives.
I guess, but I don't know how that
domestic
works.
terrorism. Like, no, he's just kind of he's got a mental issue, so it's okay. He's a good kid. I think the one that kind of stands out the most is going to be Jason, because Jason seems like he would be, and I quote, a normal kid, unquote. Because I think the whole wanting to put the cow beefcake in the locker room was mostly just like a senior prank kind of aspect, because he's getting close to graduate. He's getting close to like going on to do the football stuff, and then it all kind of blows up in his face, and that's when he really gets to meet all these other people. So young people like these teenagers, they're gonna have attitude anyway. It's common all over the place. So that's not really so much of an issue as it is their morals. Because you're gonna have like the one bully who goes and breaks the colored pencil from Billy, and it's just like, what was the real point of that? So when they call him out, and he's like, "What are you 5?" That's a real thing, because you have some people who make mistakes, and then you have some people who are complete asses. One thing I would have liked to seen was a very specific Bulk and Skull, who were the iconic bullies for the entire well, I won't say entire run, but for a huge majority. Now, in the show, because the show is so designed for children, Bulk and Skull don't do anything too bad, and then half the time everything backfires on them and they just look like clowns. But in this one, we really do get a bully, and we really get him like being a little malicious to Billy, and then like, okay, I'm gonna break your wrist. I can't break your wrist. I'm gonna headbutt you. I'm gonna knock myself out. But if anything, I'd like, at least for the next one, give me a Bulk and Skull. Give me like bullies who are silly. Give me bullies at least by name, something.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that they leave out, the only major thing, because they even give us putties. I mean, they don't look like putties, but they actually call them putties,
Yeah.
which was,
And if you
I was
remember
surprised
earlier,
at.
like that's something I kind of wanted, is like, you didn't even have to name them, just kind of reference them as
Yeah,
being
but it was
buddies.
going to be, we thought if anything, it would be in passing, and they would just get it out of the way quick. And
Yeah,
then
and like, nope, these are putties.
Hope you forgot about it, but it's like, yeah, everybody calls them putties. I think well, does Rita call them putties? I don't remember, maybe not, but
Probably not.
but they're officially called putties more than once, and with a point made of it. So I mean, they're not dudes with a letter on their chest, but they did put in the kick them in the center mass stuff. So they're doing basically the same thing, just with them looking like rock dudes instead of goofy dudes in bodysuits.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus, even with that. Okay, now one of the other iconic sounds is just the little dee 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 dee. Did you hear that in the movie? Because I
Nope.
know it's in the trailer,
It's
but I
not.
didn't hear it in the movie at all. And like, they even give us a snippet of the theme.
Yeah,
like
I don't like when they gave it to us and for the amount of time, because it feels like, all right, fine, we'll give it to you, but it makes that moment almost seem silly, because it's so like, oh wait, the Power Rangers theme is playing while they run in the Zords for the first time,
Yeah.
and it seems weird and almost it seems forced.
Well, that is a kind of a moment that's in the shows, is whenever they would.
I know, but it's out of place for the movie.
It is a little out of place for the movie, and I think that's one of those decisions that they made where it's just like, where should we put it? Well, we can put it here and have this little iconic scene, and even though it doesn't really fit with the rest of the movie, at the same time, when I saw it for the first time, I couldn't help but to smile. I'm like, hey, that's an iconic moment.
Yeah.
Now, why is Billy in it backwards? Like, why is he running backwards? Like, how's that even a thing?
I don't know.
I mean, like, if you're supposed to become one with the Zord, like, what? We don't see him run around backwards.
No, but it's just because he's supposed to fail at stuff when they decide he is. Well, I would have the way I would have wanted it was to use that sequence of notes as the basis for the rest of the score, and just sort of weave it in and out of it in the big French horn stuff and all that, instead of the generic action superhero French horns music is happening that we get, that I can't even remember. I couldn't even hum it for you because it's so generic. And it's like, it's like the James Bond movies all have their own specific theme song, and they or title song at least, and they often weave that into the score. But you also always still have the main theme there from all the way back in Dr. No, and it's okay. 24 movies later, it's okay to use it a little here and there as appropriate. It doesn't have to be a totally reinvented wheel every time.
Uh-huh.
And especially if the new wheel isn't as good as the old wheel, or is not even memorable. And then they do play an instrumental version of it that's in that sort of big horns kind of way in the credits, but it's like the third or fourth song in, so no one is going to hear it except for us. And it should have, like, that's what should have been playing in the flying around the CG stuff. That's the first half of the titles because we don't have opening titles.
Yeah.
Instead of that, I've got the power business that they put there.
Yeah, which was absolutely.
It's
Now-
like, that should be the Power Rangers theme. At least the Abrams Star Trek movies get that right.
Yep.
Like, all right, we're not gonna use the theme. We're gonna use Michael Giacchino's new Star Trek music. But when the credits start, we're gonna give you the Star Trek music. And they don't even give us that. Like, I'm so hopeful for the Baywatch movie that they'll do what the trailer seems to promise and be like, all right, we're gonna give you the Jimmy Jameson actual Baywatch music here if we give you anything.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it has to be Baywatch that gets it right, but
Hell, that's if they do.
if they do,
Now-
if they don't, then I'll be real angry at having been misled by the trailers on that count.
Now, see, one of the things in this movie that I was really kind of hopeful for is even though we do get to see these characters a little bit, we don't get to see all of their specific. God damn it!
What
I'm trying to use the right word.
words?
We don't get to see their specific quirks, and whenever Billy throws the note that says we should start a band.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would have loved if it's like, Zach shows up and he has like the guitar, because the original Zach, like he did the hip hop and the dancing and everything, and they try to transition a little bit of the original characters into these newer ones. And I'm like, what if he had the musical instrument? What if he was, he could play? And it's just like, oh, you want to start a band? And then he like plays something, and that would be like, what's his name? The guy who did the score for the original theme.
Oh, Ron Wasserman.
Ron Wasserman. Like what
Who
if
doesn't get credit?
who
by the
doesn't
way.
get credit?
The it says Go Go Power Rangers, written by Saban and whoever, courtesy of whoever owns the thing. There's no Ron Wasserman credit at all. Does
Yeah.
it say Fox?
It was Fox. Lord. But that was the thing, is like if they would have, and that would have been a good way to just to have that,
yeah,
just
have him play
like,
the riff on his just somewhere.
just have him play it real fast, because he tells the jokes, have him do that and just look at him and go, go Power Rangers, because that was Billy's thing.
Mhm.
Like he wanted to be the superhero, play it for Billy. Do it for Billy, guys. He died for us.
Yeah.
Which, even though we know he's not dead and he's not going to stay dead, that scene was really sad.
It was really sad. And I actually thought, well, now not only am I black and autistic, I've died before I even got to fight as a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
But even though he's got, and they could, what made it have just an edge of maybe believable was we do see him in the armor for a brief moment before.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so we did get to see him in the armor, so it's legitimate that he did have it on at one point. So we could get away with killing him off now and never have him actually fight, even though it would be really lame and I'd be angry.
Yeah. Well,
What are you looking at?
I just look over there so I'm not constantly staring at
keep
you, son.
looking over there. Like, what are you looking
I
at?
got like fucking windows and shit to look through. Like, who knows who might be staring at us from out there. One of the there was a slight problem I had with that scene, and I think mostly it was because of how he was supposed to have died. And I can't tell if he was killed by Rita or if he was killed by drowning. And that was kind of the problem.
He wasn't really down there long enough to drown.
See, I think that was the point, is because when he comes back to life, he coughs up the water.
Yeah, so I guess he's supposed to have drowned.
And I
but-
think that's kind of the problem, is it would have been, I think, a little bit, the scene would have been drawn out, but it would have really had that impact if Rita would have dropped him and they had to watch for the bubbles, and like whenever the bubbles stopped, that's when she would drop them.
Yeah, instead of...
Because, like, holy shit, she just murdered Billy. There's no more bubbles coming up. Like, fuck her. We got to save Billy. So she manages to escape, and they have to try to rescue Billy.
If it's really quickly together.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm walking off, and you're going to fall and save Billy. But he's already dead because reasons. And it doesn't feel as organic as what the next following scene, which is really, really sad, gives us.
Yeah. Well, and the bringing him back... I mean, I don't know what the actual mechanics of the morphing matrix are because they don't explain it. But the little bit that we overhear when he's talking to Alpha, he says that it's going to take all of them. Like he wants them all to get to the point where they can morph, and then he's going to use that in order to come back.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do that. He doesn't actually take power from anyone, and then he still manages to somehow bring Billy back into his body, even though he wasn't stored in the ship or anything. So because his essence is in the ship, which I don't know how that works either. But
well, I think what
there.
it is if we go back to the intro, I don't think Zordon officially died. I think he was dying. And that would have allowed Alpha to take his essence and then put it into the ship. Specifically. Now,
He kind of got hit by a meteor.
Yeah, he did kind of get hit by a meteor, like almost point blank, because Rita fucking got knocked into the goddamn ocean. Which, that's a thing.
Well, and what it seems like is this is the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. Is what seems like they're trying to say.
Yeah. But what I feel like is the Alpha took Zordon's body and then put the essence in the Matrix. And because Billy is currently connected to the Matrix through the morph grid, his essence would be in the morph grid, not within the ship directly, but Zordon would have been able to pull Billy's essence and then send it back through. Because the suits are kept within them, but they still access it through the morph grid.
Yeah.
So it's probably something towards that line.
Stupid nanosuits. It does look like they at least have pieces of them that do physically exist, though. Like I think, especially when they're in the Zords, you can see the helmet part without the face mask.
Yeah.
And then there's sort of a neck cowl thing that goes down into the rest of the suit, and that looks real. And then it looks like the rest of it is not. So I think like those parts, because they have to move with their neck and stuff, that's probably real. And I think it probably was a good decision to have have them have sort of visors that is almost the whole front of the mask, so we don't spend the last third of the movie never seeing their faces.
Yeah.
Even though that's what happens in the show, and it's just by
there's,
voice. But
there's reasons for that. So.
Well, it's because it's not the same people. But
so I'll let them get away with it.
But they're at least until later seasons. But it's a lot better to be able to see the faces. Then at least I think there's a glove too, because he pulls the dad out of the car and it's a real hand. So at least there's elements. But I'm pretty sure the whole thing isn't. Oh. I complained about how he looks fake in the mirror when they wake up the first morning.
And he was like nothing but abs.
Yeah. It still looks like that, and it really is just fake in the mirror, because you see enough of him without his shirt in the earlier parts of the actual scene in the movie that he looks normal.
Yes.
And then, and not what he looks like in the mirror. And so I don't know why they cheat it that much, because he looks fine anyway. If they just showed him the way that he actually is, it would be fine, rather than mirror fakeness.
Well, how did you feel about that portion just in general? Because like with Billy, whenever he grabs
power stuff,
like when he grabs the door and he just rips the doors off, he rips the door off,
proceeds to slide across his tables and ram it into all kinds of things. And Mom's like, "What are you doing, Billy?"
And then of course Kimberly breaks her phone. Yeah, like the girls are being mean to her and sending her poop emojis, and she just smashes her phone.
Yeah, which was a cool effect though, because they in one shot show you the screen working and then just sort of pan around, or it's not really a pan, but they come around to the front of her and you see it from the back in one shot, and then she crushes it. And I mean, not that that's hard to do. It's just you could put a piece of green screen on the front of the crushable phone, but still, it's a neat way to say, look, it's a real phone, and then it got crushed, so it makes it feel more real. I don't know. I feel like they get over it really fast. They're sort of, we can't control ourselves, and
well, from what we're given, well, obviously Kimberly had to get a new phone, but Billy is the only one we get to actively see touch things past that point. Because he is the one that had to put his book in the locker. You know, he opened his locker and all that kind of business. And he obviously
opened his locker fine.
But I think the difference is Billy expects that. Because I think Billy already has that type of mentality where he's like, oh, I'm super strong now. What's going on, guys? Like, maybe I should be more careful.
But then doesn't mean it. Well, I guess. Well, no, everybody kind of. I'm sure they do touch things.
Yeah.
They made it to school. Oh,
3/5 of them did.
Oh yeah. Well, the 3/5 that come to school ever. They.
Wow, Billy, you're so cool. He knows Kimberly.
Yeah. Whoa. It really is like.
If you're Austin, if you're gonna come at me, bro.
Yeah. Well,
teenager dialogue is called teenager dialogue.
I think they do, because we wanted them to do a good job of the adjusting to the awkwardness of being superheroes at high school.
Yeah.
And they don't really spend that much time on it, but I guess they spend about as much time as Spider-Man does, because it's really just those couple of scenes and then it's over.
Yeah.
But they, but because you have to do it with 5 people or 3 people, then we mostly just get it by way of Billy.
Yeah.
And then we just... do they leave school
I
after that? Because it seems
think
like the coins boil everybody's food into their faces, and then they just kind of run off, and we never see them at school anymore until later.
Well, I think there was the scene where he's like, tomorrow at 4, I'm going to be here. Like when he says that, when Jason says that to the rest of them, I'm pretty sure he's alluding to the fact that there is school tomorrow and he's got to go to school.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's going to be there. So I'm sure they are continuously going to school, except for probably Black and Yellow.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm black. No, you're not.
Now, see, I was so afraid they were going to try to make that like a race thing in the movie, and then it's just like, no, he doesn't get the joke. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so we can let that go because Billy doesn't get jokes.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the sarcasm. He doesn't get any of that. So
Apparently. Which is actually, it's more Asperger's actually than it is autism. Because like Parker, he's basically Parker, without the stealing stuff part. Leverage.
Oh, yes. Parker's really good at what she does.
Although John Rogers says that she doesn't literally have Asperger's, but it's enough like that's a close enough description. Yeah. But we don't know exactly what his diagnosis is. That's the word. It's not a condition. It's a diagnosis. Like,
all right.
Find the word earlier. All right. Don't be mad at me for not understanding autism.
English.
Yes, we speak it, at least sort of.
It's our dominant language, but that doesn't mean we're good at it.
Yeah. They really embraced the silliness of both just the silliness and the design of Alpha. Like, he looks...
I don't think they had much choice.
Well, I guess not, but they did. I mean,
they're
didn't put
getting beat
Zordon in a like light beam, so they could have updated it up some. And...
I'm just saying, they were getting their asses beat by hologram rock monsters. I don't really think they gave 2 shits what Alpha looked like.
Well, but he looks like the show, except where you don't have to put a dude inside him, so you can make him look really robot-y with really narrow parts and things. So,
you know, I almost have an issue with the guy who played his voice.
Bill Hader.
Yeah, I almost have an issue with it because he reminds
featuring Bill Hader.
Because he reminds me of the guy who did the voice for the robot in Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah,
that's what he reminds me of, and so I have to do my best to break away from that because that voice it's like nails on a chalkboard, only not nails on the chalkboard. It's worse.
But you don't want his robot family dead.
Yeah. We did get the I out of him, so I was definitely approving of that.
It is weird, the places where they decided to go as close to the show as possible, and then the places where they just steadfastly refuse to give us the theme, and then it's like, look, there's Alpha, and it's a dumb way to make a robot look, but here it is.
Yeah.
They did make, even though I would rather it wasn't the hologram physical of Krypton communication devices thing, that Zordon is instead of the pillar. They did make good use of having him be able to move around the room for
Yes.
dramatic effect.
Well, even though he could move around the room, he was still conscious of what was going on outside of that room.
Yeah.
Because whenever they were training or when they would be outside of the ship, when they were in close proximity, like he was still able to talk to him. Because, they obviously weren't in the command center of it where his face is whenever Billy morphed for the first time.
Yeah, but he knew.
Yeah.
So I guess there's cameras or something. I don't know. I mean, he's in the ship's matrix, so I guess maybe he knows what the ship knows.
Let's see here.
It is weird having a character named Cranston and an actor named Cranston in the same movie.
Yeah.
It's different. They're not related characters at all, but it's but that was his name. He was always Billy Cranston. So it's just coincidental that Bryan Cranston plays Zordon, but at least I guess it's coincidental.
Oh, Lord. Oh, damn it! I just had that note and I forgot it. Okay. So a lot of times I have issues with the dialogue. So whenever Zordon's talking about like the Zords took on like the forms of the most powerful creatures, and at the time dinosaurs roamed the planet, and I'm like,
doesn't Alpha say that?
Or Alpha, and it's just like, so Mastodons and Sabertooths, bruh. Way later.
Yeah.
Explain this, please.
Not same prehistoric period at all. Yeah. It's sort of a weird kind of way to explain why they look like dinosaurs anyway.
Yeah.
Because who cares if there's dinosaurs on the Earth at the time? And also, the whole thing is kind of weird because it's basically like Rita was a Power Ranger, which means there were Power Rangers before there was Rita to fight, and then she went bad, and then now they're fighting Rita, and that's what the job is. So what were they doing before?
They were protecting the Zeo Crystal.
I know, but from what or who? I know there's other things in the Power Rangers mythos, but in this context, we don't know any of that. All that exists is the movie.
Yeah, they haven't given us that yet.
And so it's just like, okay, so there were Power Rangers. The Power Rangers fight Rita because she's pure evil, but she was a Power Ranger once too.
Yeah. Oh Lord,
and she wanted power.
The scene where she comes out of Goldar and she's like, "Wait," and she tries to give him that bullshit line about there's going to be others.
Yeah,
and
others?
Fucking Lord Zed, son.
I know, but
Zed.
But
I went outside.
Movie doesn't know that.
It doesn't matter. She knows that. Zordon knows that. They don't got to tell shit because I can't wait for Lord Zed to be in the next one.
Yeah, well. Assuming we get it, it's too early now to know if it's going to make enough money or whatever. But, well, yes, but and they give us the Tommy Oliver tease as well. They don't actually give us a Lord Zed. There's no like Thanos turns around on his throne thing with Lord Zed, so that's not like here it is. Take a look. The guys in the row behind us in the theater seemed to be making quite the point of they didn't show us who is going to play Tommy Oliver.
Yeah, and Tommy Oliver, like, oh, he's my favorite character.
That movie doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
they may not even make that movie.
Like,
so,
like that guy, he hasn't been cast.
There is no Tommy Oliver yet.
Yeah.
It is a weird thing though to do it the way that they did, where they basically do a Ferris Bueller thing where he just keeps calling the name and it's just an empty desk that apparently he was there though.
Yeah,
is the implication
because
his coat's there and it's the proper color and it's like, what is happening? Yeah. Where did he go? What's he in detention for?
He's probably beating people up.
And oh, good. Kenny finally uploaded.
Hell yeah.
So,
son, you got work to do.
Yeah. So, Trini's room is destroyed.
And how, like, she's... I don't... Okay.
How did she explain this?
Exactly.
Oh, I started to say earlier I didn't finish it. I will disagree with her that her family is super normal,
Yeah.
and that's why they can't understand her. Her mom is not normal.
No, she's not. Her mom's like far left fucked.
It's just like,
But at least her dad is reasonable.
Yeah, but like the mom is the one that needs to calm down or needs to get some therapy or something. Like I mean, I know that they've got a kid in the house they don't understand, but even before the I'm a superhero stuff, like she's on edge.
Well, it's the thing is, it's not that they have a kid in the house they don't understand. They have a teenager that's going through a period. And that's kind of the problem is I don't think they remember what it was like to be that age, or at least within an environment that she's having to grow up in now. And I think the dad's the only one who's willing to give her that room to grow. And that's why the mom keeps losing her shit. The kids flinch every time the mom gets angry, but the dad stays cool about it. And I think because this is kind of a teenage drama slash superhero film, they have to have it through the perspective of the teenager. So, of course, maybe it just seems worse than what it really is, other than the fact pee in this cup.
Yeah, which she just has on hand.
Yeah. Now, that I can believe. I've seen people actually do that.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, and especially with her being how she apparently is, but she needs to calm down.
But the fact that the room is destroyed and someone has to explain that because the mom ain't going to have none of that.
Yeah, but she's just in there just spackling the wall, and the brothers are in there being like...
painting shit.
Yeah. Oh, that did make me feel good. Like, the Blue Ranger's the coolest ranger. I'm like, yes, I've never been the coolest ranger ever!
But what about the other one? Yeah, he's cool too. How do you know it's a he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So... the government can't cover this up.
No, they can't.
Because like 500 people have cell phone video of it now.
Including the original pink and green ranger. So
yeah.
Which I am glad they brought them back. I mean, I know that there's been episodes in the past, the more recent past, where at least Jason David Frank had shown up to do a cameo or whatnot. But this being an actual film, and not something that this is a band just made for television. Like, this is an actual movie, and they got at least 2 of the originals back for it. You know, it was quite pleasant.
Yeah.
You know, it's like every time someone sees Stan Lee in a Marvel film, it's kind of like that, only without being oversaturated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I call this the algebra. That is what he said, right?
Yes.
I don't know why he'd call it the algebra, but he did.
I don't know. Like, how are you even doing that? Like, I don't know. He controls the legs, not the hips, robot hips. Now they fall into the hole and come out as the Megazord, which they
the Mama Zord,
which they call
no, that's dumb.
Megazord. And Rita says, "How?" Which I wonder also.
Yeah. I'm guessing that in previous events, the Zords in themselves act independently and they don't form together. And so this would be the first time it's ever happened. And it's probably because they fell on top of the Zeo Crystal.
I guess.
Because the Zeo Crystal was right there in the pit and they fucking fell down the pit with it. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have pushed them into the pit, especially when they're going to land on top of the thing that you're about to pull out. I would have pushed them out of the way.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to push him into the pit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, you know, of course that happens.
Yeah.
Now, the formation is, like, all wrong.
Well,
It's all wrong. Well, it's, like, mostly wrong because blue and yellow are supposed to be legs. Black is supposed to be both arms. Red is, like, the torso. And then pink is, like the shielding.
Hmm.
And then, like, they call it the power sword, like, out of the sky.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least it seemed organic enough. It didn't look bad. I didn't look at it and go, ugh, that's disgusting. Other than the fact that all the cockpits are too easily seen. So all you have to do is take long-range weaponry and just fire right at the cockpit.
Yeah, they're just in glass bubbles on the front.
Sooner or later, that cockpit's going to shatter and you just got wasted.
Yeah, but I guess it's better for the now we have to show how they still have to learn to work together, where they basically have to quap their way into figuring out how to walk.
I like how you bring up Quap on that one.
Yeah.
You hear all that?
No, because I have the noise gate on.
No. Well, oh yeah, you have your headphones
I
in.
have my ears in.
Yeah, I have like 1.5 in. Like I hear you really good in this one, but I use this one for listening to you, and I use this one for listening to me. So it's only covering like the channel, but it's not the opening. All right.
Do you have more notes?
Yeah.
Because I'm like trying to come up with stuff to say.
Okay, so how do you feel about the fact that Zeta got bitch Zeta?
Zeta, the pasta villainous.
Yeah. God damn it.
Yep.
And so how do you feel about Rita being bitch slapped into space?
Well,
Like straight into space, like fuck orbit, fuck gravity. Like no, she's gonna jump. We're just gonna knock the shit out of her, and she's gonna go into space and then turn into what looks like stone.
well, she's gonna freeze. But I thought two things. I thought honeymooners to the moon, and then also thought, oh, so that's how she gets to the moon.
The honeymooners by bing bang boom straight to the moon.
Yep. So, but then it's like she's on the moon in the show, and so that's how she gets to the moon. So she can come back in, I guess, the third one when we don't think she's the problem anymore.
We'll see. Originally, for pretty much season 2, Lord Zed shows up, and Lord Zed kind of traps Rita, and then he fights the Power Rangers on their own. Rita kind of breaks free again, and then Zed, I don't want to say he enslaves her, but it's something very, very similar. Then Rita manages to get him to drink a love potion, so they fall in love with each other, and then they get married. Of course, that's very child-friendly, but I can see something kind of like that where Zed shows up and then actually enslaves Rita. Because we're at the point where we have to.
Yeah, slavery is child friendly.
Yeah. Well, we've gotten to the point where we have to establish the fact that Tommy Oliver is going to be the Green Ranger, and we have to get there. And
yeah, and we don't have a. Well, I guess did they keep her coin?
I could have swore the coin went with her.
Yeah, it seems like, but.
Well, at the time in the show, what happens is Tommy Oliver, he's the new kid at school. And because he's new, Rita pretty much pounces on him right away. And then puts this evil in him. And then he's the one who fights the Power Rangers, and he's really good at it. But he himself is not evil, so they manage to kind of break that spell. But she creates the Green Ranger from it. So from this, I don't think she herself would be willing to give up with the coin, because she already gets an amount of power from it to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling what's going to happen is Zed, like if Zed shows up, Lord Zed would take it from her, because now that he has her enslaved, he's going to take the coin and he's going to create the Green Ranger himself as kind of a spy. You know. I also think that it's going to kind of open up for maybe potentially a White Ranger in the end, by the end of the trilogy, because the school is, what was it, the Tigers? Go Tigers! That's what the White Ranger was. He was a white tiger. Yeah.
It's such a generic high school team name.
It very, very much is. But whenever we see his green jacket, we can see that there's some kind of emblem on it, and we can't tell what the emblem is. So I'm waiting to see if it's going to be something dragon related or something tiger related. Like, how are they going to lean towards that? Because originally the Green Ranger had the Dragon Zord, which very Godzilla-esque would show up out of the water and then had like the big drill on the end of its tail and destroyed the same building every time it showed up. Like, their insurance is great.
Yeah. We've got one shot of this. Splice it in again.
Uh, but see, I expect to see something like the Dragon Zord show up. Now, if they get past that and decide to do other things, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. But just having the Green Ranger and the Dragon Zord show up and him play the fucking Green Ranger dagger flute thing, the little melody that summons the Dragon Zord,
I used to have one of those. I used to have the toy.
I always wanted one of those when I was a kid.
It actually, like, you could press the button and it would play the thing. It's really heavy though, because it had I think it had 3 AA batteries in it or something crazy.
Wow.
Like in the big centerpiece where the coin looking thing is. Or maybe in the handle, I can't remember. Yeah. I forgot about that one when we were talking about the toys last time, that I had that too. Oh, and I have the the belt buckle thing, although it's not mounted that way. It's mounted like it's a wrist thing, so maybe it was. But the morpher for Lightspeed Rescue, the one that looks like an M kind of.
Yeah.
It pops up. It's got the button in that. I found that the other day. And apparently it's pretty rare and expensive now as a toy, so that's kind of neat. It makes a cool sound when you press the button when there's batteries in it.
Something I was thinking of is the transition between Rita looking for gold and then just showing up at the gold excavation pit, and then just being like, "All right, gonna make Goldar now."
Yeah, we kind of get there fast, don't we?
Like what?
It's like, let me rob this jewelry store, or let me take this homeless guy's teeth, and
like she fucking sticks her fingers right in that woman's mouth.
Yeah.
Here, lean closer. Let me just put my hand in your mouth.
And she does.
Like,
it's like, come closer. Like, why? No.
No, thank you.
Also, you're not supposed to have to look for the silent alarm button.
Yeah.
And she's like down on the ground, like feeling around for it. It's like you're supposed to be able to do that without being obvious.
Yeah.
And of course, Rita doesn't know what a silent alarm button is, so
she don't know what a fucking Krispy Kreme is. I think they'll be okay.
No. I would have thought, since she's obviously robbing the store and she's pressed the silent alarm button already, and she goes to the trouble of bending down and pulling out a thing, that was going to be like fake gold we give to dudes that rob the store.
Yeah.
And she was going to eat it and be like, this isn't really gold, and then just wipe her out or something. But apparently it was real gold. And apparently she eats gold.
Yeah.
In addition to fish and a donut. And it's like a Homer donut too. It's like it's a pink icing and sprinkles. It's like, yeah. But we do get there kind of fast. If anything, I think that's kind of, if there is a problem that's
I'll
major,
solve it. Check out my hook while my DJ revolves it.
It might be that it's that we go almost the entire movie with just this sort of build to them trying to become Rangers, and then suddenly the crisis happens in 20 minutes. And
like we have 11 days. No. We have 11 months. No. 11 days. 11 fucking days.
Yeah.
Really?
Which he knows precisely somehow.
Yeah.
And also, is she just sort of called back to the surface because they found the coins, or what? Because they happen to dig up the coins in the mine because Billy's digging around. And then the same night, she gets caught in a fishing boat net, and is now gonna come back and try to take stuff over.
I don't think it would have happened if they would have just thrown her back.
Maybe.
I really don't.
It's a giant coincidence that she ends up back like that.
Well, because I think the biggest thing is like with her having taken that damage and mummifying and all that kind of shit, I think the reason that she kind of regenerates is because she absorbs the gold into herself to enhance her. Mm-hmm. And the police officer, like, she doesn't really do anything until the police officer shows up, and he's got this big fucking chunk of gold right there on his chest.
Yeah, the badge.
That and his gold watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right there, like, that's what she's after. Like, she probably doesn't even care about him. She would have killed him anyway, simply because. But, I think that's really like what really got it started. Why is a coincidence, but
yeah, why she happened to be caught by the fishing boat that particular day.
No, it's about it's
60
about getting
million years.
It's about getting caught by a fishing boat at all after 65 million. Like, you'd think she'd be underground or something like the ship was.
Yeah,
Because
he's
she's in the
like,
ocean.
look, the rock's grown around the ship, and it wasn't even, and it was on the surface. But yeah, apparently she's just floating around. But and it's not like she was knocked loose by anything, or there's no like at least there's a pipe that falls on the Viking chest with the mask in it. Like,
No.
there's nothing like that. There's no event that causes her to come back, except she's got to come back because they're gonna be Power Rangers. They got to have somebody to fight because who you gonna fight?
Exactly.
So
Every good hero has a good villain.
yeah, it did turn out that it does still kind of feel like the first Thor movie during the actual fight. Just Goldar doesn't breathe fire, but he's still walking around being all metal through the main street of town in what looks like a desert.
Liquid metal.
Yeah, it's sort of kind of like a T-1000 kind of thing, because it's all kind of flowing all the time, and you can hurt him and then it kind of forms back together.
Yeah, but you stab him twice, like in the shoulder, chest area, and then
Yeah,
he's done.
dead. Yeah, it's like, why does that work now?
Like, how is that a thing?
Because it's time for the movie to end. That's why.
Yep. It's morphin' time.
Yeah. Yeah. Which they... Yeah, I mean, I know you have to have those things, but there's such sort of... They're so iconic. It's like the first time a new actor has to say that... when a new James Bond actor has to say the name the first time, and you're like, all right, we know everybody's going to say it, but everybody's sort of embarrassed at the same time that it has to happen, and we just have to get it out of the way.
No. See, saying Bond, James Bond, that's fucking cool.
Well,
because that's a name. That's an iconic name. Like, you can't go bad with that name.
But there's
It's
such a
morphin'
weight
time.
on saying it. But yeah, I know they throw on words like morph and when he says her name is Rita Repulsa, I'm like, you just said that in a live action movie. Like that's ridiculous. Because Power Rangers is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's all goofy and silly, but it's okay because you're 5 years old. But when you have Bryan Cranston say Repulsa as a person's name, it's like, it's nobody's fault. It's just the stuff that's built in because we've committed to doing a Power Rangers movie. So there's things that come along with that.
Full Monty. Even that, like when I was a kid, I thought her name was Rita Repulsive. Because I thought she was
a real word.
Because I thought she was supposed to be repulsive. It was like, no, it's repulsa. It's it's like a play on the word. And I was like, all right, well, I guess that makes a little more sense. But then, we're gonna actually say now. One of the things is in that opening scene, like Zordon is kind of one of them not common names. So
yeah, but he's supposed to be an alien.
And that kind of works. And like Rita being a very I know people whose name is Rita. All right.
Yeah,
and
so she's an alien too. Like she's Rita, he's Zordon.
Yeah,
something doesn't match here.
But the thing is, I think they could have gotten away with it a little better by saying it with that very like Rita.
Yeah,
like
almost like it's got an apostrophe in it or something.
Yeah, and then
really
like of course when they say it, like, oh, Rita Repulsa, and they're like, oh, Rita.
Yeah. Have like them say it and normalize it. But
like,
having Zordon say it as if it's a real person's name.
Because her name is supposed to be an alien name from the alien language that he speaks, that he only speaks English because it seems to be in the Matrix, that it was stored there by Alpha 5, and how the fuck Alpha 5 even got a hold of it, I don't know. The ship's underground.
Yeah, so it's not like he's been watching what's been happening, unless there's technology on the ship we don't know about, which could be. But
he could be watching. Movie 2 involves him watching sitcoms when it's very calm. No bad guys to fight. I love Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
that show's pretty old.
Yeah, it's not 65 million years.
Nope. It's really lonely in that ship. Because remember, Zordon wasn't on for a while.
Yeah, although I'm not really sure why.
They needed the power coins to return to turn the ship back on. I don't know why. I don't know why you would need the power coins on the ship to turn the ship on. That doesn't seem like a very smart way to run the ship.
Yeah.
And I want to know how they sent the meteorite to Earth. Like Alpha sent the meteorite. Like how?
I don't know. That's just the thing we can do.
Fucking gravity control rays.
Yeah. Tractor beams, you might say. There's not really a pun there. Whatever.
Make my monster grow. And it did. And then I was appreciative of the way the camera angle showed. Like you could see Goldar still growing, and then like she turns, and it really does look like she's looking at it, even though there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth Banks did a damn good job. Thank you very much. Because when we see her for the first time, like that hurt me. Like that hurt me. Like seeing like a mummy thing. Okay, whatever. Seeing her as like some like all jacked up woman that's like half rotted alien attacking a homeless man, it scared the shit out of me that very first time.
Yeah.
And then of course, now she's all decked out and got her gold and out there, and even the guy that was in the machine was admiring her until the storm picked up and started throwing rocks at his machine.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, time to go.
It is a little weird that alien villain from 65 million years ago
Speaks English.
I don't know where she got it, but because she doesn't have a ship matrix, but that she, like, her villain suit has high heels. Like, what's up with that? Like, this doesn't make any sense. 65 million years ago.
No.
I mean, it doesn't make sense at all.
High heels are not designed for combat.
No.
And that's what the armor's for.
Yeah. Although her armor is a lot less armoring than theirs is.
No. Well, it does show us previously what the armor looked like whenever he was doing like the little flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like we know that the green armor does have an original standard look.
Yeah.
And I guess I guess right now she mostly uses the coin for like a power source along with what she has now. And that's just why she still has the green left over.
She uses it like an infinity stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a stone. It's a coin.
That
looks like
coin
a
to me.
that does look like a stone.
Also 65 million years ago. No coins.
No.
In the show it looked like a coin.
Yeah.
In this it looks like a stone of various color in a piece of rock.
Well, one of the things is whenever they get it out of the wall, it does look like just like a little piece of crystal. But whenever they have it and they set it down in the cafeteria, you can tell that there's like this metallic ring around the colored part of that stone.
Yeah.
Why that decided to show up then, I have no idea. Because when we get to see it, when we see it earlier, we see him like rip it from like the obsidian glass looking material, and then they look at it, and it's just like you get a really good shot of it, and it's just like, oh, it's like colored glass, and now it's colored glass with like metal around it.
Yeah. Because coins. Metal. So how do we feel about stars?
Well, on first impression, I'll probably give this one 5 just because I know I'm going to go buy it. But I have a feeling it's going to do something very similar to Pacific Rim. So it might go down a star or 2 later on. Because of most films that are based off of an old TV show or something that I grew up with, normally there's too much difference compared to what I'm used to. And even though this one isn't perfect, it really does. It feels like this is the best one to kind of capture all of those little childhood memories into one film. So, like, I think it did better than any of the Transformers, any of the TMNT stuff, the GI Joes, even the really really old He-Man in the Masters of the Universe movie. I just think like I really do feel like this ended up being the best one made with that kind of aspect to it. But once again, after it comes out and I buy it, we'll take another look at it and see if I still feel the same way.
Well, Pacific Rim struck me that was the first time I had seen it when we did it for the show, and I had problems with it right away. This, I guess, I don't know, there's not really things that I can really point at and say that's a problem, but it just doesn't, like, usually when a movie is 5 stars for me, like, you can just, like, I can just feel it. And there's no, like, I don't have to debate with myself, like, is this really 5 stars? I'm not sure. It's just like, you know, like I walked out of Logan and was like, this is like gold plated right here.
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's no question at all. And you know, various other things that I've given major stars to, even surprising things and things that other people think are terrible. I'm like, this is all the way. That it just, I mean, there's moments where I'm like, all right, this is exciting, Megazord or whatever, but it just as a whole piece it just didn't hit me where I was like I didn't walk out of it super excited.
Yeah.
I didn't have really any problems with it either while it was going on or now, but it's just sort of like I guess it's probably as good a job as anybody could have done, but it just wasn't like, it wasn't the sort of like fist in the air kind of, yeah, this is it, son, kind of thing. So
Well, I think I just have a more positive reaction to it because I have all that past Power Rangers experience that just never really went away, and all the things that I really wanted to see, minus the Bulk and Skull bit, like they ended up giving to me, and I think that's why I give it such a high rating now. Now, of course, seeing it in the theater, we don't have much control over what we see and how we see it. But later on, when it does come out and we get to actually inspect it, kind of give it a breather, you know, we'll see if I still feel as strongly about it as I do. Because having seen this, it does make me want to go buy it. And that's kind of that 5-star criteria for me, is when I see a movie, do I want to own it? How bad do I want to own it? And why do I want to own it? And so, like, I give it that 5 stars because I want to own it. I want to watch it again. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I would be fine with watching it again. But it's just, I don't know. There's some sort of nebulous, indefinable bar that something hits, and it's just obvious that it's 5. So since I don't know, I can't really justify it, but I'm gonna say. And I don't want it to be like, oh, this was my, you know, we went through all of our history with Power Rangers stuff last episode, but, and so it's not like that. It's not like you George Lucas'd my childhood or anything. It's nothing,
Yeah.
there's no bitterness or anger or anything. Except for I wish they used the theme more. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll like it more over time and you'll like it less or something. I don't know, but right now, I'm gonna say 4.
Okay.
Even though I can't justify it. So yeah.
Make them stars grow.
Yeah.
I would have loved to seen her throw the spear into the ground and watch it like crack open.
Yeah. So that's all we have to say about Power Rangers. We'll see you next time.
Later. I want to go to Ernie's Juice Bar.
How 90s is a juice bar as a primary theme location?
We gonna go hang out at the Juice Bar. You coming, nerd?
Yeah.
And we'll give credit to Ron Weiserman. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Wasserman.
Wasserman, god damn it. Ron Wasserman.